Alright, let's talk about the United States dollar. It's great to spend, but when earned, comes with a mess of confusing taxes and the nagging feeling that the whole game is rigged. Well, now a group called the Cash Back Coalition, or CBC, has emerged with a plan so ingenious but simple in its concept. Their goal is to completely overhaul how America handles its money, starting with a truly solid idea that can be supported by the Constitution, turning you, yes, into a national treasure. Not just in a you're a special little guy kind of way, but in a literal, financial sense. The CBC's plan begins by looking at all those official documents you've collected throughout your life, your birth certificate, your social security number, and all of your security interests within the United States corporation that proves you as the underwriter. Sadly, most Americans don't know the true value of these instruments, so right now they mainly just gather dust and cause a panic when you can't find them and need them for identification. Under this new proposal, through Congress, the American citizens would put a class action lien on their security instruments and then deposit it into the people's treasury as a total sum. They would then treat this bundle as a massive financial asset, a guarantee backing the nation's credit. Here's the key difference. Under the CBC's vision, the government doesn't need to take out loans or borrow money from the Fed. Everything is already fully underwritten to be paid for, as Congress holds the purse strings to the collective sum of the secured credit deposited within the people's treasury. This move, which they call citizen asset securitization, is the bedrock of the entire plan. By consolidating this citizen-backed asset, the CBC estimates the U.S. Treasury would suddenly have a deposit worth an absolutely staggering $4.4 quadrillion. That's a number with 15 zeros. It will serve as the cash on deposit to manage the entire U.S. economy. This financial foundation is not based on gold or borrowed money from the Fed, but from the full faith and secured credit of we the people. So, what does this actually mean for the average person? Well, for starters, it changes the relationship between you and the IRS. You are no longer just a taxpayer, you are an asset. And here's where the CBC's bill gets even more radical. The articles of the bill propose abolishing the federal earned income tax entirely, replacing it with a system that gives every American citizen a cashback refund for every earned dollar they spend back into the U.S. economy. That means more money in your pocket and a direct reward for participating in the economy, but it doesn't stop there. The plan also includes solutions to pay off the entire national debt, as well as every American citizen's personal debt, including school loans, credit cards, and medical debt. By making the US dollar intrinsic and finite, the value of the dollar would actually increase, making your money stronger and more stable. The CBC's approach would also raise the overall US GDP and per capita GDP for every citizen, making the country wealthier as a whole. And by encouraging immigrant naturalization and securitization, the plan would boost GDP even further, recognizing the economic power of every new American. The CBC argues that the system should officially acknowledge this reality and build a new, more direct monetary policy around it, one that aims to benefit the very people who underwrite the whole system. Now, once the country's finances are backed by this quadrillion-dollar citizen fund, things get really interesting for you personally. The next step in the CBC's grand vision is to give every single American citizen a bank account directly with the Federal Reserve. No more dealing with Big Bank Inc. and its endless list of fees for the crime of having your own money. Instead, everyone gets a Federal Reserve Bank account, or FRBA, complete with a debit card that works anywhere in the world. This isn't like the high-yield money market accounts you see advertised today. This is a direct pipeline from the nation's central bank to you. This new federal debit card is where the cashback part of the coalition's name comes into play, and it's a doozy. The plan includes a 100% cashback refund policy. Let me repeat that because it sounds insane. 100%. Here's how it works. When you go out and buy things, groceries, a new TV, a ridiculously oversized inflatable flamingo for your yard, using your earned income, you save the receipts. At the end of the year, when you file your taxes, you submit those receipts to the IRS. In return, you get a refund for the entire purchase price, minus a small buyer's tax that you pay for at the time of purchase. It's like the universe's most generous rewards program. There is a catch, of course. This incredible refund only applies to purchases made with your personal earned income. But if you use the funds from your new Federal Reserve Bank account, those purchases don't qualify for the refund. This creates a powerful incentive for people to work, earn, and spend their own money in the economy, knowing that they'll get it all back later. Imagine buying a $1,000 laptop for school or work, and then getting that $1,000 back at tax time to save, invest, or spend on more things. It would completely change the financial calculations for every household in America. This system effectively turns every citizen into an engine of economic stimulus. Your spending directly fuels the economy, and the government rewards you for it by returning the interest to the beneficiary. The CBC plan bypasses private banks for this entire process, creating a centralized refund system designed to keep money flowing and reward American consumers for participating in their own economy. At this point, you might be thinking, 100% refund sounds great, but who is going to pay for the government? It's a fair question. If everyone is getting their money back, and the government is no longer taxing people's wages, where does the revenue come from to fund roads, schools, Medicare, and the military's unquenchable thirst for new jets? The CBC's answer is to revise the current tax code and replace it with a much simpler, three-pronged system. First is the buyer's tax, a small, variable percentage tacked onto every purchase you make. This is the amount that gets subtracted from your 100% refund. Think of it like a national sales tax, but one where you still end up getting most of your money back. If you spend it in the US, it's a tax on consumption, not on your hard work. The second leg of the new tax stool is a seller's tax. This would be a tax levied on the total sales revenue of merchants and businesses. So, when you buy that laptop, you pay the buyer's tax, and the company that sold it to you pays a seller's tax. The third leg is a straightforward corporate tax, which would be a flat percentage tax on the earnings of corporations. The idea is to create a more balanced system where the tax burden is shared between the consumer, the seller, and the corporation, rather than being loaded primarily onto the shoulders of the individual wage earner. On top of these new taxes, the government would create brand new income streams for itself. With the American people as its financial backers, the US would get into business. It would start selling national assets like agricultural products, minerals, and fossil fuels directly on the global market. Furthermore, it would begin issuing what it calls People's Treasury loans directly from the Treasury. These loans would be available to everyone from American entrepreneurs starting a small business, to corporations, banks, and even foreign governments, replacing the old system of selling T-bonds to investors and creating a new source of national income. The final pieces of this puzzle aim to fundamentally restructure who owns and controls America. For decades, the US government, along with the help of Wall Street, has been selling US Treasury securities, T-bonds, and T-bills underwritten by the US citizen security interest to investors all over the world, including corporations and foreign governments. Proof of this can be found within the Fidelity Institutional Money Market Government Portfolio, Class 1, categorized as fixed income securities valued at multi-millions of dollars each, underwriting the holdings for treasury bills, coupons, strips, inflation-protected securities, and the like. Not long ago, this information could be found posted as public information on the active, Fidelity.com website, but has since been changed to hide from the public. The CBC's plan puts a stop to this. The government would no longer sell its debt to outside entities. Instead, with the new income from taxes and asset sales and the ability to issue its own loans, the goal is for the American citizenry to effectively own all of American stock. The profits from the nation's success would flow back to its people, not to foreign creditors or Wall Street banks. This leads to a massive change for the banking industry. Commercial banks would be hit with a major new rule. They would be prohibited from practicing fractional reserve banking. That's the system they use now, where they can lend out far more money than they actually have on deposit, essentially creating money out of thin air. Under the CBC plan, banks would have to operate more like simple custodians of money. They could only lend out money they actually hold from deposits and investments. This would drastically reduce the power of private banks to influence the money supply and, its creators hope, prevent the kind of reckless behavior that led to past financial crises. So, what's the grand vision here? Why go through all this trouble to upend a system that has been in place for a century? The creators of the Cash Back Coalition believe this plan would make America stronger, safer, and more equitable. By eliminating personal income tax and introducing the 100% refund, it would put immense financial power back into the hands of ordinary citizens, boosting their quality of life and stimulating the economy from the ground up. It would create a stable, self-funding government that is no longer reliant on taxing the labor of its people or selling its debt to the highest bidder. Ultimately, the CBC argues this is about restoring sovereignty and the full faith and credit to the people. At the heart of this vision is a powerful truth: the American people themselves are the underwriters of the securitized asset deposited within the people's treasury. This is a statement of empowerment and national stewardship, where every citizen stands a guarantor and the beneficiary of the nation's value and future. By ensuring the profits of the nation benefit the population, and by reclaiming control over the money supply from private banks, the plan aims to build a more resilient and independent United States. It's a vision where the government is accountable to its citizens not just politically, but financially. It's a solution that will immediately increase the value of the US dollar, eliminate the national debt, and save the American economy and its pocketbook. But in a world where inflation is steadily rising and the US dollar is under siege, the Cash Back Refund Legislation Bill is the solution that all America First economy experts can agree upon, and every congressperson and senator should eagerly vote into law on behalf of the state citizens that put them into that position. Click the link associated with this video to sign the petition today, and the Cash Back Coalition will strive to make it happen for tomorrow.